So you bounced around with
Yeah,
different
just
different
from
jobs.
job to job, and I was taking flying lessons at the time.
So after IBM is when you started taking flying lessons.
Yeah, I think shortly after I got to Denver, I started taking flying
Oh, so
lessons.
while you were working at IBM, you were taking flying
Uh-huh.
lessons. Oh, okay.
I was also playing lacrosse for the Denver Lacrosse Club.
Mm. What inspired you to take up flying?
I was a former paratrooper, and I couldn't find a parachute operation where I could jump anymore.
Mm.
And I had money saved up that I was going to spend on a parachute, and I spent that money on a private pilot license. And I got my private pilot license at, from Ben's Flying Service at um, the Washington, Virginia airport, Bailey's Crossroads, or Tyson's Corner in northeastern Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C.
Okay, I'm confused. I thought you were in Colorado at that time.
Oh, yeah, well, the thing is, I got my private pilot license while I was still in the service.
Well, you were still in the service.
Uh-huh. I paid for it out of my own
So
pocket.
was that after you flew into San Francisco, or?
Okay. Oh, after I flew into San Francisco, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was San Francisco, New Canaan, Connecticut, Colorado for a ski vacation that started out to be a 2-week vacation after I got back from Vietnam,
Uh-huh.
and I turned it into a 3-week vacation.
And so after you went on that Colorado vacation, then you went back to the East Coast, and that's when you got your private.
After the Colorado vacation, I went back to the East Coast and got myself reassigned to Fort Belvoir, Virginia for my last 9 months in the service. And after that last 9 months in the service, right at midnight on February the 22nd, the first minute I could
Uh-huh.
leave, I left.
But
By the
during what
time I was
period
sick
did
of
you
it.
get your private license? Like when you were working in Virginia?
While I was still in Virginia, in the Army at Fort Belvoir.
When you were teaching in Virginia,
Yeah,
that's when you got your private.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
How many hours a week of classes did you have to go to? How long did the training take to become a
Flight
pilot?
training?
Uh-huh.
I got my license in 6 months.
In 6 months.
Yeah, I don't remember when I started, but the logbook's upstairs in a box,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got all my flights logged.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got my private pilot license in November of '68.
Hmm. And where was the first place you ever flew?
The first plane?
Where? No, when did you first fly a plane yourself? Or even with an instructor with you? Was that in Virginia?
No, actually, you really ought to shop around when you're looking for a school or a training academy or anything. And I tried a little flight school in Hyde Park, Maryland,
Oh.
and went out there twice and hated it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to this other place, and they were much better organized. They even had a flight simulator,
Mm-hmm.
an old Link flight simulator that they used to train World War II pilots on.
Wow.
And a well-organized flight school with a chief instructor and good supervision and good training aids and good training materials.
Where was it?
It was Ben's Flying Service at the Washington, Virginia airport, which was located either at Tyson's Corner or Bailey's Crossroads
Oh, okay.
in Northern Virginia.
Northern Virginia. And you were doing that the whole time while you were teaching?
While I was teaching at Fort Belvoir, yeah, they couldn't keep me busy.
Okay.
It was a stateside assignment, and I'd teach my communications classes and teach them well because I just gotten back from using them in a war zone, and it was really easy to prepare for the classes, and I didn't have a lot of time that I had to spend on it. So a lot of times I'd have 4 or 5 days free in a week where I could go take flight lessons. I never went AWOL, so to speak, to take flight lessons, and the flight lessons never interfered with my job. But I had the time and I used it.
And then you got your license and then you went straight to Colorado.
Got the license, and
Got
then
out of
when I was able to, I went out to Colorado for to catch up with some friends of mine,
Uh-huh.
especially Lars Larson, who put me to work as a ski touring guide for the rest of the ski season, and Jim Babcock, who didn't give me but provided me a bunk to sleep in.
Yeah. So how old were you when you got out of that teaching job in February when you went to Colorado, moved to Colorado?
I must have been 27.
Okay. And then so and at what point did you start studying at the University of Denver?
Oh,
After IBM or during IBM?
After I left Aspen, and after I left IBM and bounced around these other companies, I really still wasn't stabilized in anything, but hard knocks taught me that I needed more education and more training. So I saw an advertisement from DU after being turned down for the graduate school at the University of Colorado, because I applied there first. The University of Denver was advertising night school classes in accounting. I didn't know anything about accounting, but every business uses accounting. So to correct that problem, I took Accounting 101 and 102 as adult ed classes.
This is while you're working at IBM?
For credit at the University of Denver. And I think I had left IBM at that point. I only stayed with them for a year. It's just a horrible misfit. And they were glad to get rid of me, and I was glad to get out of there.
So once you were out of IBM, it was after you left IBM. That's when you started going to DU.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember exactly. I was working for a cable TV company and started going to the DU in the evenings.
Is that expensive?
Good question. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Well worth it.
Did you have debt?
No, I had the GI Bill.
Oh.
And by that time, I think I'd finished enough flight training that I could work as a flight instructor. So I ended up working for Clinton Aviation, which is one of the finest flight schools on the Rocky Mountains at that time. And very well established, very well organized, very well supervised. And my main instructor there was a guy named Marv Harman, who was Rocky Mountain Flight Instructor of the Year all the time. There just wasn't a better guy to fly with. And the chief pilot at the time at Clinton Aviation was a lady named Emily Howell. And Emily Howell was, as chief flight instructor, was also the examiner for the school. And so she would give me flight tests for my commercial license, for my instrument rating, for my multi-engine rating, things like that. And she said, "What are you going to do next?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure. I love teaching flying and everything else." And she said, well, you should really make a career of aviation." And she encouraged me. She says, "You're so smooth and so much in control. You could do well as a commercial pilot. You ought to consider staying in aviation as a career."
This is while you're going to DU?
While I was going to DU, and while I was going to, and while I was working at Clinton Aviation. And it turns out that Emily Howell was the first female to ever become a captain on an airliner's airplanes. So she, I was flying with some of the best pilots in the country at the time.
Yeah. And so when did you graduate from DU? How long did that take?
I graduated from, well, first of all, we got married in March of 1974.
Yeah, at what point in all this did you meet Mom? Like after IBM or during?
I met Mom while I was working at IBM.
Oh, you met her almost...
maybe in 1970.
Within the first year of moving to Denver? Less than a year after. Huh.
And we dated for about 4.5 years. And then got married March 1st, 1974. Best thing that ever happened to her. I mean, best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah. You met her what?
Did I get that right the second time?
Do you know what the date that you met on was?
No, I don't.
But it was within the first year moving to Denver.
I would say so, yes.
Wow. And yeah, that was at a party, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, a fellow employee and invited me to tag along to this party.
A fellow employee
I
of
met
what?
Mom because she was such a bright, cheery, neat lady, pretty and happy and beautiful smile.
Uh-huh.
So I got her phone number from her sister Marie, and gave her a call and asked out for a date, and the rest is history. And here you are, and here I am.
Where'd you go on a date?
I think one of our favorite places to go, and it might have been our first date place, was a real nice little steakhouse in Denver, and I don't exactly remember. I can picture being in this restaurant, but I don't remember the name of it. But I know we liked to go to it. Mom might remember the name.
And it was an employee of IBM that you went with?
To the party, yeah.
Oh. And how?
It'd be like,
What was his connection to that there? Do you know?
His connection to what?
What was your friend's connection to that party?
He knew your mom from somewhere.
Oh.
Where the word got out that there was going to be a party at their apartment. So.
Who's their apartment? Whose apartment?
Marie and your Aunt Marie and your mom.
Oh, it was the party was at. You met Mom at her apartment.
Right.
Oh. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the party was at their apartment.
Oh, okay.
There were 3 roommates. There was your mom and Marie Taylor, and another young lady who was leaving town. So it was, and she was from northeastern Pennsylvania and friends with your mom and Marie. And she was heading back to Pennsylvania. So Mom and Marie had a little going away party for her.
What was the address of that apartment? Do you know?
Boy, you'd have to ask your mom.
Yeah, I think people went past it. It was kind of in near that hospital, wasn't it?
Possibly.
It was kind of like on a couple floors up.
You'd have to ask her for sure. I don't remember. But anyway, I continued to work at Clinton Aviation and continued to finish my master's degree at the University of Denver, for another year after Mom and I got married.
And for your master's, don't you have to do research? Don't you have to like write like a book?
You know what? The program that DU offered had what they called independent study instead of a thesis.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not do a master's thesis. I did independent study.
Okay.
And the independent study that I wanted to do was in portfolio management, but my mentor through the course wanted me to do it on bankruptcy and reorganization, because at that time a lot of businesses were going bankrupt. So I picked one and did an analysis of it, and that was I was basically doing research for the professor.
And how many pages was that?
Oh, I don't remember. I might have a copy of it upstairs. You're welcome to read it. Yeah, I've got treasures sitting out in the hidden, family history type stuff. Sitting out.
What was
in
it called? What
boxes.
was the title? Do you remember?
No.
Okay.
But just sitting out there.
So you graduated from DU, and when you graduated from DU, what did your life look like? You were working at Clinton Aviation.
At that point, I had told Clinton Aviation I was gonna graduate from DU and wanted to continue to work for them, but in management, not as a flight instructor. And the original ownership of Clinton family had sold the company to another company led by a guy named Ron Conquest. And he couldn't have cared less about the employees there. And I started looking for another job and got an interview through the University of Denver with Storage Technology Corporation. And they liked the fact that I had my master's in finance and had worked for IBM for a year and had computers as an elective on my transcript from West Point. So, and they were building tape and disk drives. The guy that founded that company had worked for IBM building tape and disk drives. And so he branched out with what he thought was a better technology. And, you know, I figured that, and this is classic information technology stuff, he invented a better tape drive, and IBM wasn't interested in using it, so he went out and got financing and started building and selling tape drives that he manufactured. And I ended up working for those people.
For how long?
A year.
Where was the building?
It was halfway between Boulder and Denver in a town called Louisville. It wasn't very far from the Jefferson County Airport.
Okay.
Along Route 36 between Boulder and Denver.
Do you know if that company still exists?
I think it does. You might look it up and see.
Louisville, Colorado. So you would commute there every day? From downtown Denver? Or were you and Mom living together at that point, or no?
Yeah, we're married.
You were married?
Mm-hmm. And, you know, just a young guy out of school again. So looking for a career again.
So you married Mom, and then how long was it until you graduated from DU?
A year.
Okay. So
we were married while I was still teaching flying and while I was still working on my degree.
And why'd you leave that company?
Clinton Aviation.
Or the storage company or whatever.
Oh, they were terribly mismanaged and they were going broke, and I was a financial analyst and I was doing their numbers, and I could tell that it was hopeless.
What'd you do after that?
I considered going back into aviation, and I also considered working for the Denver Regional Transportation District, following another employee there, basically, from Storage Technology. And so I had applied with Casper Air Service in Wyoming, and I had applied with Denver Regional Transportation District. And I could have stayed working for Storage Technology as long as I wanted, but I didn't want my name put on all these documents. And I didn't want to answer stockholders' calls saying, are you guys going broke or not? And I wanted to tell them the truth. Yeah, we're going broke. And I wanted to tell them the truth, which is, yes, I wouldn't invest in this company and you shouldn't, and I'm looking for a job. Get the heck out, you know? Yeah. I couldn't be honest, and I couldn't be dishonest. And I said, I couldn't, you know, just stick with it until it collapsed around me.
And if you had gone to Boulder for college, what would you have studied, do you think?
The finance, same thing. I studied at DU. Oh, it was so neat at DU. They had turned me down because I didn't have a B+ average in undergraduate school. They said, don't even bother to apply. So I took those 2 college courses in accounting because I needed them and they had them. And they let me take them without any application to be admitted to the school. You know, it was just like they were selling something out of the parking lot on a Saturday afternoon, but it was night classes and it was good. And what I didn't realize was that they have a very good night class program there, night and weekend classes, where you can go to an undergraduate or graduate degree and get your degree there. It might take you forever, but they'll give you forever to get it, you know. Mm-hmm. And so after I took those 2 classes, I went to this advisor and I said, well, gee whiz, they had already turned me down for graduate school. And I said, well, gee, you know, I've completed these 2 courses. What should I take next, you know, to help me continue growing? And they looked at me and they said, well, go to our graduate school, of course. And I was really surprised. I said, I'm in the graduate school if I want to be in the graduate school. And they said, sure. So I signed up for graduate school courses, and I just stayed in the graduate school study program and got a graduate business degree. The title of my degree is Master of Science in Finance.
And how many years did it take you to get again?
3.
3. Okay.
See, I had to start from scratch, and I couldn't go full time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was gone evenings and weekends.
Oh, okay. And
You know, for example, they'd run a 4-credit course that was a concentrated course in something over the Christmas holidays. So I got to take that course, and that would start and finish that requirement and those credits on the transcript.
you know, at that party with Mom, did you talk to her at that party?
A little bit.
You mostly just got her number.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, I was out to meet a nice lady,
Uh-huh.
period.
Uh-huh.
You know, I've never been a hustler.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been promiscuous. I've just been a straight-laced, good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was looking for a relationship and a future rather than a girlfriend. You know what I mean? So I was picky. And she was too. And, you know, the rest is history. What's fascinating is that her sister Marie was frustrated that she was never meeting any nice guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Taylor, my lacrosse teammate, was lamenting that he never met any nice girls. So your mom and I invited Marie and Tom out on a double date, kind of a blind date with us,
Mm-hmm.
to go to a University of Denver hockey game, which was a lot of fun, really. You know, even if the date was bad, you could enjoy a good hockey game.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they hit it off right away, and the rest is history.
And how many months, how long after you and Mom met did Marie and Tom meet?
It wasn't very long. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'd have to ask Marie or Tom or Mom. I don't remember.
Months or a year or?
Oh, I don't know. Less than a year.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't know. Heck, you know, Tom and Marie are open. Just give them a call or email them and say, hey, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
And see if they've got an answer, see if they remember.
Mm-hmm.
Just like all your other aunts and uncles, they're good people, and you know, and their door is open to you anytime. So.
And so after the storage company, that's when you went. What did you do after the storage company?
Well, like I said, I had 2 choices. Either go to work for Denver Regional Transportation District or go to work for Casper Air Service.
Uh-huh.
Casper Air Service called first. And a guy had been teaching flying. He flew me up in his airplane up to Casper for this job interview with Dutch Werner, who had founded the company
Mm-hmm.
right after World War II. When World War II was over, he was an Air Force airplane mechanic and worked at that field. And when all that stuff came up for sale at the end of World War II,
Mm-hmm.
he bought one of the hangars and started Casper Air Service from scratch
Hmm.
as a maintenance facility, and then he added on airplane sales and airplane training and air taxi service.
Mm-hmm.
And in a unpopulated, sparsely populated state.
Hello? Yeah.